This map of Europe in 1943 shows the Allies' challenge. To push into Fortress Europe, they faced a massive geographic barrier, the Mediterranean Sea. Zooming in, there's only one obvious path. To get troops onto mainland Italy, they had to take Sicily first. The issue was that Adolf Hitler was staring at the exact same map. He knew Sicily was the logical target, so he heavily fortified the entire island. If the Allies launched a direct assault against a fully prepared German defense, they would be walking straight into a meat grinder. Tens of thousands of soldiers would die on the beaches. Since they couldn't physically move the island or shorten the distance across the water, the Allies had to try something else. They had to change the strategic reality inside Hitler's head. Normal espionage tricks wouldn't work here. Fake radio chatter was ignored. Double agents were practically useless. The Germans verified absolutely everything. To make them believe a lie of this scale, British intelligence needed to physically drop top-secret Allied invasion plans straight into the laps of the German High Command without making it look like a deliberate handoff. They needed a courier who had absolutely no underlying motives, who couldn't be cross-examined, and who would never confess, even under severe torture. Working in a quiet room surrounded by massive shelves of military documents, two British intelligence officers named Ewan Montague and Charles Cholmondeley proposed a solution. They would deliver the false plans using a dead body. First, they had to find the right physical prop. They needed a recently deceased man with absolutely no family ties or personal connections, someone who could vanish from reality without anyone asking questions. There were strict medical constraints, too. The corpse had to look exactly like a pilot who had crashed at sea and drowned, because they knew the enemy would eventually conduct a thorough medical examination. Finding the body was merely acquiring the raw material. The actual challenge was reverse engineering a believable human life to fool an incredibly paranoid enemy. They gave their blank canvas a name, Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. They projected a polished, authoritative military persona onto him. In the intelligence world, there is a concept called pocket litter. It is the meticulous curation of mundane, everyday items meant to manufacture a completely authentic backstory. To evoke empathy and make him feel real, they planted a photograph of his fictional fiancée, along with a series of handwritten love letters tucked safely into his pockets. They built a verifiable timeline using bureaucratic paper trails. They included a recent overdraft notice from his bank and a pair of used ticket stubs from a London theater. The ultimate payload was chained directly to his wrist. Inside a locked briefcase were documents outlining an imminent, massive Allied invasion of Greece and Sardinia, intentionally pulling focus entirely away from Sicily. By burying their massive strategic lie underneath an overwhelming volume of undeniable microscopic truths, they weaponized the enemy's own forensic diligence against them. In April 1943, a British submarine silently surfaced in the rough, dark waters off the coast of Spain and released the body into the tide. They chose the Spanish coastline for a very specific reason. Spain was officially a neutral country, but its government was highly cooperative with Nazi Germany and crawling with enemy spies. A local fisherman eventually spotted the body floating in the water. True to the Allied predictions, Spanish authorities covertly passed the briefcase to waiting German intelligence agents. Once the body hit the water, the British had zero control. They were flying entirely blind, and the entire fate of the European theater rested on the enemy taking the bait. The fake intelligence quickly reached the German High Command. Analysts there exhaustively studied every single receipt, letter, and official document. Hitler, eager to outsmart the Allies and deeply paranoid about surprise attacks on his flanks, accepted the fabricated narrative completely. Look at this map of German troop deployments following the discovery. You can see thick red arrows tracking a massive redistribution of forces as the Germans pull their defenses away from Sicily and march toward the Balkans to fortify Greece. The most ruthless military machine in Europe dismantled its own defensive line simply because they were eager to consume a lie. When the Allies launched the invasion of Sicily in July 1943, soldiers waded through the water and onto the beaches facing drastically reduced enemy resistance. The success of that deception secured a vital foothold in Europe, directly saving thousands of Allied soldiers who would have otherwise died in the landing. Meanwhile, back in Spain, the fictional character of Major Martin was buried with full military honors, a recognized war hero who never actually existed. In the brutal calculus of a global war, overwhelming firepower and massive troop numbers dictate a lot of the outcome. But in the summer of 1943, the most devastating weapon the Allies deployed was a perfectly constructed story.